Bob Flounders and Dave Jones with the Blue White Breakdown, a lovely late Thursday morning. Penn State, Michigan State Saturday at Beaver Stadium. Dave, senior day. More importantly, you know what I'm going to say. The Land Grant Trophy's at stake. Your thoughts?
Pat Boland, to you, buddy.
Yep.
You know what I think has happened? You know, we used to joke about the Land Grant Trophy, that we were the only ones that appreciated it. And now it's become like a cult classic, hasn't it?
Yep. It's spread everywhere.
Yes. It became so ugly that it became chic. It's like kitschy chic.
It's maybe the largest trophy in sports, or one of them.
It's got, yeah. Well, you saw the thing that Bud Tallman said about it when I did that story a few years ago. I asked him how he really hated that thing, the former Penn State athletic director, because you had to yank it around everywhere. And I said, how much do you think it weighs? And he said, oh God, it's gotta weigh 40 pounds. And I asked George Perlis if he ever lifted it, you know, because he created it. And he said, tried to.
The Land Grant Trophy is awarded every year to the winner of the Penn State-Michigan State game. And Penn State owns it after what they did last year in East Lansing, 28-7 in the rain. Dave, I should just say real quick, Pat Boland, longtime former Penn State beat guy, great guy to be around. Everyone loved Pat, no longer with us, but great sense of humor, and he had a lot to do with a lot of the funny things we still talk about to this day.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was the first one that really said what we were all thinking, that who thought up this thing? And yeah, I went and found out who thought it up, but then I got all these stories from people who had to carry it around. I mean, you had to carry it. They put it in the giant tractor trailer with the Penn State equipment, and they were always forgetting it. Always, it was the last thing anyone wanted to go get. And then when they Bud said, "Does anyone have the Land Grant Trophy?" when they were getting ready to pull away, and invariably he said they hadn't engraved the last game on the plaque, so they had to wait and send it out to be engraved. And then Jeff Nelson told me one year they got it out of the back of the truck, and it was like kind of mangled, and the little chrome football player had been knocked off, and they had to use duct tape. I am not kidding, to kind of tape it back on there, and then they colored the duct tape with like black paint and hope no one noticed. Anyway, you can't kill it now. I thought they were going to kill it. You can't kill it.
No, that's no way to treat a trophy like the Land Grant. Dave, do you get the feeling that Michigan State is running on fumes going into this game, and it could get very ugly? Or do you think 2020 has been so crazy? This is the team that beat Northwestern. Anything's possible, and you could see a good effort from a Spartans team that got just walloped.
If you need to scratch there, we can wait. You know, if you don't even know what you were doing, right?
No,
you were talking and going like this.
I'm a little bit of a scratcher, Dave. It's early in the morning.
Or you just think better. It's like Jerry Maguire.
Upper body scratching, Dave. The audience doesn't mind.
Think better when you scratch. It's okay. Yeah. Are you running on? I think if we were traveling still, we'd be running on fumes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be stressful for all these guys. All they want to do is get home for Christmas. Nobody thinks about this. They want to be able to get home for Christmas without quarantine, right?
Right.
And they're at the point now, if they get this thing, they're going to have to quarantine during Christmas. Am I wrong about that? It's the 10th. They won't be able to see their folks. So I think everyone's tired of this stupid season, except for Ohio State. And of course, we have to placate Ohio State. We have to give Ohio State what they want. I was going to ask
about that in a little bit.
We have to give them what they want, because they'll go, yeah, if they don't get what they want. Them in Nebraska, but of course, Nebraska doesn't need much. You just hand them a spoonful of peanut butter and tell them to go away, and they're fine. But yeah, I think everyone's a little tired of this crazy season. Oh, yeah. Indiana and Purdue aren't going off. The old Oak and Bucket game's not going off.
Nah.
That's the second one.
Yeah. Dave, would you say Indiana is the most pleasant surprise of the Big Ten season?
Not to me. Not to me. Who said they were going to make a move up in the East?
Oh my God! All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Have at it.
Actually, Zach Osterman talked me out of picking him second in the East. I was going to put him above both Penn State and Michigan, and I only put him ahead of Michigan. I didn't do it. I picked him third, but I always thought they were going to be. They had a lot. They've got a lot of older guys back who had proven themselves, and their defense, their coordinator is up for the Broyles Award. That's been the shocker to me. Kevin Wilson always had a functional, fun, interesting offense that could score points, but he never had a defense like this. And it was very hard to put together a defense like this in Indiana. They just didn't have the athletes. These guys don't really have the athletes either. They just they get after you, kind of like Northwestern, kind of like those the Northwestern defense with a bunch of 3-star guys, and in some cases Wisconsin. I mean, they beat Wisconsin at their own game. Did they not? Did you watch that? The 14-6 game?
I did not.
It's kind of, it's a hard watch. Very, very frankly.
How about Northwestern Wisconsin? Another hard watch. A lot of hard watches in the Big Ten, Dave. Have you been watching Penn State football this year? It's kind of a hard watch.
No, Penn State's been a lot more interesting than some of these games. Wisconsin's always a hard watch, but Indiana beating Wisconsin was interesting because it was like an alley fight where the guy you don't think is going to win because he takes a punch and comes back. And Wisconsin didn't want any more of them. The last ditch drive, when Graham Mertz got him within 25 yards or so and then threw into the end zone, you keep thinking Wisconsin's going to do it, and they never did it. They scored 6 points against that defense at home in decent weather. There wasn't any weather problem. Indiana just won the game flat out, straight up. It reminds you kind of 25 years ago this year, and Gary Barnett's Northwestern Wildcats, who had, you talk about a lot of 3-star guys, Pat Fitzgerald in the middle, the ultimate 3-star linebacker. Indiana in Northwestern, that would have been a fitting Big Ten championship game, even though Ohio State's clearly the best team in the league.
Kudos also to you, Dave, for throwing Zach Osterman under the bus. Just blame him. I blame him and you for everything, but behind your backs usually. Let's swing the conversation towards Penn State, and I think the fan base, I don't know if they're necessarily like eagerly looking forward to this game. So I want to say this to you, Dave. I have a little list in my head, in my mind, going into senior day. I have 5 Penn State players that I've enjoyed watching the most this year. I know I didn't ask you to compile a list, but are there a couple guys off the top of your head that you can say, boy, even though 2 and 5, I've really enjoyed watching these guys play, and I think either it was a great senior season for them, or I'm looking forward to the future watching these guys play for the next couple of years. I have a list. If you get stuck,
they have to be seniors.
No, it could just be 5. You're the 5 favorite guys you like watching this play.
Well, I thought Antonio Shelton had a pretty good year.
Okay, he had a really good game last week.
Talk about seniors. He came on later. Interior defensive linemen never get the credit they deserve.
Right.
When they do great things, a lot of times they don't even make the tackle. I thought he's come on later in the season, and that's also hard for those guys to do. Man, they have such a if they're really good, they get double teamed. I mean, what an existence. It's not an easy life for those guys. If they don't have to be seniors, I think Joey Porter is a really, really interesting guy, man.
Made my list. Good job, Dave. Good job. Go ahead. God.
Yeah, I mean, when's the last time a corner that young came on and you just knew? You knew. I mean, if this was college basketball, he might be gone at the end of the season. That's how good, right? I mean,
Big Ten Freshman of the Week have the thing. Like everything you said is right, Dave. A physical corner who can run, athletic, can play press man. Dave, you've covered Penn State a little bit longer than I have. When's the last time you can remember a cornerback at Penn State who not only is a very good college player at a young age, but has a chance to be an impact player at the NFL level, not a safety, a corner.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I
don't think there is one.
No, there really isn't one. You got to go way back. I mean, I
don't know that you can even if you go way back, Dave. They've had safeties. I don't know that they've had corners.
No, I don't. I think that's probably true.
Yeah, you think of Alan Zamitis, but in the NFL,
no, he didn't do anything in the NFL.
He did. I don't know if it was injuries, but he was a very good college corner. But really, Justin King, a great athlete, but just not a physical corner, an athletic corner, and really didn't I don't think distinguish himself in the NFL.
But you would agree this kid has a real shot in the NFL.
Yes, absolutely,
because he's got the size and the twist. He can change direction. He can change his body posture and do that at speed. And he can. That is a very valuable thing. It's the kind of thing that DB coaches look for, and the size. I mean, he's big enough to be an impact corner. So he's gonna. I mean, you could rationalize that he could make an NFL roster now. I think if he was eligible, right?
Yeah, I do think physically though. Wait till he physically matures.
Right.
He ends up being like, he'll play at 205 at 6'2". You just don't see many corners like that. Those are the big corners. You know who's going to love him, Dave? Pete Carroll loves big corners. Richard Sherman, Brandon Browner, all those big thumpers. He is an ideal Pete Carroll type of corner. Although they play a lot of zone, this guy can play man. Let's not ruin it for him. So let's let him enjoy the next couple of years. Who else do you have on your list?
Well, the Legion of Boom is no longer the Legion of Boom anymore. I mean, they could use him. I think he hasn't really played a full season, but I think Caden Wallace is pretty damn interesting as an offensive lineman who can be he's a lineman who can be a Levi Brown. In the future.
Actually, they have another guy that I think is the guy that you. Oh, hold on. Is that you? Or is it me?
It's always the women.
Sorry.
It's always the women with you. Just like Ronnie Chris. Groupies all the time.
Dave, your point is well taken, but I think they have a guy that's closer to Levi Brown on the other side of the line. But you're right about Caden Wallace. But I would say Rasheed Walker, who made my list, is a little bit further ahead, only because he's had a little bit more time at Penn State. They're both really good players, though. Yeah. Very good.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think Rasheed Walker this year, I think, the offensive line's been dogged a lot, but I've watched him, and there's a lot of plays where he embarrasses the player in front of him. He's a very good player. Caden Wallace is starting to do that as well. Those two tackles, Dave. There are some people that already think Rasheed Walker, if he wanted to leave, because he would be eligible, would go fairly high in the NFL draft. I would love for him to stay another year because I think he could be a first-round pick in the NFL. And I think Caden Wallace has the body type, the demeanor, the feet to absolutely be that way too.
And as a Southern coach would say, he's got a little bit of anger in him. He got a little bit.
Good. I thought about Caden Wallace, but I have Rasheed Walker, so let's keep it going. You want to talk about
talk about kids too? How about running backs? How about Kevon Lee?
That's it. You got it to another guy on my list. He's the guy. He's one of those guys.
Go ahead there. I'm going to do my Woody Hayes. Come ahead, Bob. Come on.
Fourth on the depth chart, probably to start the year. Unfortunately, Jody Brown's career came to an end due to a medical issue related to his heart. Thank God they detected it. First series of the year for the offense, Dave, and Noah Cain has a lower leg injury that he's lost for the year. Devin Ford, the starter much of the year. I know you've liked him. You liked him in the Nebraska game. Kevon Lee is a different kind of runner, I think, than Devin, a bigger guy. Makes things happen, doesn't ever really get trapped in the backfield. When they needed that drive at the end of the Rutgers game, when they were pinned on their 2-yard line, They put him in the game, and there was no secrets as to who was getting the ball. He got it 5 or 6 times. They couldn't stop him. Had 95 yards in that game, 134 the week before against Michigan. Just rare to see a back that tall anymore in college or in the NFL. But because he's got there's a lot of surface area for him to get hit. But he's a big guy, and man,
he kind of runs a little bit straight up too. I mean,
well, I think as a general rule, when you're over 6 foot, and I think
you look like you are,
yeah, I think that's just an issue. But boy, he does look like he's going to be a big part of the rotation.
Do you remember Jess Phillips with the Bengals? Do you go back that far?
No. What's Bengals? Like 1867, Dave?
69 and 70. Jess Phillips ran straight up like this. There was nobody like. I thought you were like a connoisseur. You didn't watch the AFL.
I thought you were going to tell me about Greg Cook in 1969.
Well, he was in 1969.
Yeah,
1969.
Yeah.
And Virgil Carter replaced him. And what's the thing that you would remember about Virgil Carter? What's the unique thing about Virgil Carter? 1970.
Isn't it Virgil Carter?
Virgil Carter. That's what I'm saying.
I thought you said Carr. What do I remember about him?
There's 2 things that are very memorable about a journeyman quarterback from the Bears nobody wanted.
Well, his first name was odd.
You don't like Verge? I think you should be Verge. You look like a Verge.
I remember more about Greg Cook, the injured shoulder.
I know. Yeah,
but I don't really remember a lot about.
He replaced a superior quarterback you could have plugged in any offense. What's unique about Virgil Carter was he was a mutt who really didn't throw the long ball, couldn't throw the long ball very well. So who was the offensive coordinator of the Bengals in 1970?
Was it Bill Walsh?
It was Bill Walsh. And what did he do with Virgil Carter?
He turned it into the West Coast offense.
That's right. Correct. That's right. That's what happened. Yeah, that's what happened. Virgil Carter was the genesis point of the West Coast offense, even though it was in Cincinnati. And they won. They went 1-6 back when the NFL was a 14-game season, and then won their last 7 games, made the NFL playoffs at 8-6, and then got steamrolled by the Baltimore Colts 17-0 in Memorial Stadium in the dirt. It was ripped up because the Oriole fans ripped up the turf after beating the Reds. So it was like a double whammy for Cincinnati fans with Baltimore, and that's why I hated that guy with the hat that did the Orioles. That guy, I hated that guy. He did the Colts too. What's that guy's name? The broadcaster.
We are going to get back to your Ohio roots in just a second, Dave. 2 more players I wanted to talk about with you: Parker Washington.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
And Jason Awe, the defensive end, who, man, you look at him on the field and you look at Joe Herman's pictures of him. He doesn't have a lot of mass, but he's 260 pounds. He's just, everything is just pure muscle, Dave. Like, the guy is not built like a defensive lineman. He is built like, he's almost built like DJ Metcalf or like just a really big athletic tight end. He's just, but he runs so well. And, for a guy that's starting for his first year, I think he's had a pretty good year, but you can tell there's some growth ahead for him.
How about a guy for the last half of the season? All last half of 2020.
The whole
yeah.
So do you have a guy in mind?
Yeah, a defender. Because I think you targeted this guy and he's really come on the last few games.
Well,
he's made the defense a lot better.
Yeah. Well, there's three guys that I think that have played better during the recent run would be Mustafa, the defensive tackle, Brandon Smith, the linebacker.
That's the one. Probably
Jaquan Brisker at safety starting to play better too. But yeah, Brandon Smith now kind of looks like that big 5-star gazelle that can just close on somebody in about 2 quick strides and turn what looks like a 6-yard gain for the other team into either no gain or a loss. He just covers a lot of ground once he makes up his mind. Just a very athletic player.
Yeah, you're starting to see him before you should see him in opposing backfields, and that's what he's supposed to be doing when he wants to get some work.
He can be sudden. That's like a Jay Billis word in college basketball. Sudden.
No, he's also something else that Jay Billis would say. He's long and athletic, and he would say it like that. Yeah, I think Smith has. Did you like it when Brandon Smith tackled Brandon Smith from Iowa? By the way, I don't think the broadcasters were
I
ready
don't
for
think
it.
anyone appreciated it as much as you did.
Of course.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left on the Penn State breakout. We got to get to your picks. But before I do, Dave,
Are we going to talk about the Spartans at all? We haven't talked about them.
I mean, do you think that's what the people want to hear? Do they think they want to know about Rocky Lombardi?
He's not. I don't think he's going to play. That's the whole point.
All right, let's go to our picks, and then we'll just segue into something else.
All right. I wasn't ready.
I can tell you have a lot of data in front of you, so go ahead.
You gotta let me get ready.
Take a sip of coffee, Dave.
No, I got enough coffee. I think it's pretty apparent I have enough coffee. But all right. Wisconsin at Iowa. What's the line? And it's really moved. Have you taken a look at any of these lines?
I have not. I'm aware of the Penn State line. I was aware of the Ohio State line before they canceled the game, and I think that's it.
This is flipped from one team to the other as the favorite.
Well, Iowa's got to be favored. I'll say they're favored by 4.
They're not. Wisconsin's favored by 1.5. Correct. And it flipped from Wisconsin +3 to Wisconsin -1.5.
And it's at Iowa. I guess it doesn't matter where it's at. I'll take Iowa.
Yeah, I think road teams are winning more, aren't they, this year?
Yeah, I just think that Iowa's patient. They were patient against Illinois. Remember, we thought they were in trouble, and they just kind of grounded them to a pulp. So I think they're a little bit more determined than Wisconsin is this year.
That's the kind of game you'll watch, right?
I will not watch that game. I will not watch that game.
Purdue at Indiana is not going to play.
Yeah.
This list is incorrect because they're over with.
No,
Michigan State at Penn State. You know what the line is already, right?
yeah, it's right around 14 now. I think it
Yeah.
opened at 13. I mean, you know,
It sounds about right to me.
we've been so wrong about Penn State. I think we're going to get this one
Yeah,
right.
everyone's hanging on our picks for Penn State. What are we, like 2 and 4?
Penn State, they're going to run the ball 50 or more times. They're going to dare Michigan. I know every once in a while Michigan State has some athletes on the defense that can cause problems. I just think Penn State's going to stick to what they do. I think Michigan State looks like they can get discouraged early in this game, and I think it's just going to be like the last two. I think Penn State's, they get a lead early, they're going to be tough to catch. I got to win it 30-13.
To your point, their starter all year, Rocky Lombardi, he got really crunched at Ohio State, a really tough hit. I think he might have gotten a concussion. Nobody talks about that stuff anymore. But he was out for the rest of the game. He got hit in the second quarter. They put in a kid named Peyton Thorne, who actually looked pretty good. He hit about his first 9 passes and looked as good as you can look against Ohio State. Got the ball downfield, hit a long one for a touchdown. I think he's going to be the starter, and I think they're going to score a few points, but I see it about on the line. I've got it 28-14.
Yeah,
a game as boring as the score probably.
3 and 5. You see 3 and 5. I like it.
Rutgers at Maryland.
That's going up. They're playing that game.
Are they playing that game? They're not playing that game.
It's your segment.
This list is wrong. I'm going off of pregame.
Perfect.
Pregame's incorrect.
Let's make picks on games that aren't going to get played.
All right, Minnesota at Nebraska. They are playing that.
Positive? They're going to play?
I think they are, right? Just pick it. Pick the line. I don't know.
Nebraska by 1.
It's 10.5.
I'll take the points.
Oh, Illinois at Northwestern. Finally, I think that's it.
Oh,
they are playing that.
Yeah, that'll be 20.
Rivalry.
It'll be 20-10 Northwestern.
It's 14, so I guess you're taking Illinois. All right.
The Illini. All right, let's get to a couple things before we wrap this up. Dave, I want to just get your thoughts. You touched on it at the top of our podcast. Ohio State 5-0, awarded a spot in the Big Ten title game with only 5 games. The Big Ten decided to waive their minimum game requirement of 6. They beat Indiana in a close game, heads up, and they're going to play Northwestern a week from Saturday in Indianapolis. Was there any doubt that the Big Ten was going to do this, and do you agree with the decision?
Well, when the old Oak and Buchan game was canceled, the Indiana-Purdue game, it actually threw the whole thing back to Ohio State. Indiana probably is not going to be able to play. Well, it looks like their pandemic uptick is just beginning. So, I mean, are there any rules this year about anything? Has the Big Ten ever stuck to anything? I mean, what the hell? What the hell's the difference?
They will not revisit anything unless they have to and they want to, and then they will do it because
these are
Big Ten.
These are the absolute rules, unless we get in a bind.
There was no vote. Oh wait, there was a vote. That's right, there was a vote. Go ahead.
It's just like they're making it up on the fly. You know what it comes down to is who's the best team in the league. Ohio State's the best team in the league. Are they going to beat Northwestern? I see no way they're not going to beat Northwestern. Do you? I mean, I guess it's possible. But Northwestern doesn't have the it all comes down to Peyton Ramsey and if he can play the game of his life. But I don't know that Northwestern's offensive line can protect him. If he can get protection and get the ball down the field, I think Ohio State's secondary is vulnerable. Don't you? I think they are.
My sense this year, Dave, with Ohio State is that when they are focused and they want to play, they're real tough to beat, but they turn it on and off in a game. Like even against Penn State, when there was a stretch where they looked really good, and then the second half they looked like they were a little bored. And I don't know that they played a full 60 minutes.
Same thing happened with Indiana
all year.
Yeah, same thing what happened with Indiana. They got bored, and it was 35-7, and they looked like they. But I think there's a difference between being bored and not really being able to play. I don't think that Ohio State secondary is very good. Right. Further, I think they're going to get smoked if they make it to the college football playoff by whoever they play in the semifinals. That's my prediction because of those guys. I don't think they're very good. I just don't think Northwestern is probably the team that can burn them, so it won't hurt them yet. But it is going to hurt them.
All right. So you're picking Penn State by 2 touchdowns. I think that sounds about right to me as well. Dave, if we're lucky, fingers crossed, we'll be talking about a 9th game next week. I don't think you and I will talk Saturday after the home game because of technical difficulties at Beaver Stadium. Will be Pickle and I. But isn't it weird that I know they're waiting, but to have to prepare for a 9th game and you don't find out even who you're going to play or where you're going to play until Sunday or Monday of that week.
It's like this thing's being run by Robert Stack in Airplane, No wings. That's what they'll be expecting. When they pour the lights on
Penn State fans over
Johnny
unplugs
the lights.
Yeah. Sure.
Johnny unplugs the lights on the field. That's like what we're dealing with. Yeah. Right. Why would you want to tell anybody what to plan for? Aside from this cockamamie plan anyway, are you telling me really that the 6th and 7th place teams are going to cross over and play each other? And why? And what are we doing here? I mean, the whole thing is just stupid.
They will not revisit their decision, Dave.
We talked about this in October, remember, before the season started. And I said, wait until we get to December. Yeah. This is not going to make some teams happy.
Maybe just a double header. The 4 best teams play 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2.
At most, the top 6, 3 versus 3, you cut it off there. But the rest of the stuff is imbecilic. I don't know. That's the
Dave, it's always a pleasure. Blue White Breakdown, Bob Flounders, Dave Jones. Tell the pup I said hello, and we will be.
He's asleep, dude. I don't know where he is. Kaiser, he's dead. He played with the neighbor puppy yesterday, and he's lost it.
That'll take a lot out of you.
Someplace. All right.
We'll talk soon.
Godspeed.
See ya.